Gavin Williams and Cole Ragans were awesome on Monday. Let's discuss on fantasy baseball to date in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5 on Tuesday, August 8th. I am Frank Sanford, joined by Scott White, and let's talk about some waiver wire pitchers. Gavin Williams was awesome on Monday night. 7 shutout innings with 12 strikeouts for him. Cole Ragans had a career-high 11 strikeouts at the Red Sox. 2 other names, I think they're a little bit further down the list, but Brandon Williamson and Patrick Sandoval, both pitching very well recently. Scott, how would you rank those 4 names? Williams, Ragans, Williamson, and Patrick Sandoval.
So I would go Williams, Ragans, Sandoval, Williamson. And those top 2 are of a much higher priority for me right now than those bottom 2. In fact, Brandon Williamson, I don't really think I'd be looking to pick him up yet because this good start was an isolated incident, and we just need to see a lot more from him. But talk about the top 2. Gavin Williams obviously has the highest prospect pedigree of any of these guys. He just turned in his best start as a major leaguer with 12 strikeouts, only 1 hit allowed over 7 innings against the Blue Jays. Pretty good lineup. What was different for him, apart from the results, slider was up 1.6 miles per hour. Curveball was up 1.3 miles per hour. That actually started in his previous start against the Astros. Didn't get as good of results, but he was throwing them harder. He was relying on them more. And I think that's a formula for success for Gavin Williams, as the results from this start show. Hopefully he can continue it. It's something a lot of young pitchers have to learn, not to rely so much on the fastball, especially when they have a good secondary arsenal. Cole Ragans is an even more interesting story because he was a prospect a couple of years ago, had some health issues in the minors to Cole Ragans. He came to spring training throwing much, much harder than we saw from him previously. In fact, this year his average fastball velocity 4 miles per hour higher than last year. Didn't translate to much success right away, mostly working out of the bullpen with the Rangers. But now he's come up for the Royals after they traded Ryan Yarbrough. Back-to-back starts has looked good. 8 strikeouts against the Mets in the first one. Now 11 strikeouts against the Red Sox in the second one. And part of it is, in addition to having that improved fastball velocity, now he seems to have landed on a better secondary arsenal himself, introduced a slider in the first of those 2 starts that he thinks will help neutralize left-handed hitters. He wasn't getting enough differentiation between the fastball and cutter. Even though he's a left-handed pitcher, left-handed hitters were crushing him. Sliders played really well in his last 2 starts and seems to have helped make his entire arsenal more deceptive. So I think Cole Ragans is on the right track now. And with a firm rotation spot for the Royals, I think he's worth picking up.
All right, I've got 2 follow-up questions. I know you spoke about Chase Silseth yesterday with Chris Towers. Where would he slot in amongst that group of pitchers?
So he would be behind Gavin Williams and Cole Ragans for me, but just behind them. Cole Silseth is closer to them than those other 2 you mentioned, Patrick Sandoval and Brandon Williamson.
And would you drop Tony Gonsolin for any or all of the names we just mentioned?
I would drop Gonsolin for the first 3 on the list, which is Gavin Williams, Cole Ragans, Cole Silseth.
All right, let's talk about some waiver wire hitters real quick. 2 outfielders, exactly 65% rostered. Sal Frelick went 2 for 3 with a walk and his 3rd home run. And James Outman went 4 for 4, performing much better here in the second half. Scott, who would you rather have, Sal Frelick or James Outman?
So I feel like Sal Frelick is more instrumental to the Brewers lineup, and I think his skill set's a little easier to read. He hasn't been making hard contact. He wasn't expected to make hard contact. He makes a lot of contact and makes contact in the right places. And that's something we saw during his minor league career as well. Profiles as a batting average standout. And so far, so good in the majors. He has 3 home runs already, which is kind of unexpected. I'd like to see him steal more bases, but you can't really complain about anything Sal Frelick's doing so far. It is true that James Outman has been hot and was hot earlier this season. since July 1st, batting .337, 4 home runs, 5 steals in 28 games. But his average exit velocity during that stretch only about 85 miles per hour. And I don't think James Outman can get away with low exit velocities like Sal Frelick can. Plus, tends to sit against left-handers. I don't think he's as high of a priority. I'd leave Outman for the 5 outfielder leagues.
Yeah, I think so too. Frelick, when he does play, he's batting in the middle of the Brewers lineup. The plate discipline is better there as well. It's obviously a really good park in Milwaukee, so I do agree. I like both, but I would go with Sal Frelick over James Outman. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Audacy app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.